I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what the heck? You're wearing two sports jerseys on top of each other. Well, when I'm taping this, I'm thinking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, and them making the playoffs and hopefully taking down the Ottawa Senators. Of course, this is at the time of taping. The fact of the matter is, this bad boy is the jersey I'm featuring, obviously. Yes, I caved and bought the $150 RJ Barrett jersey. But it actually cost me a lot less at Sport Check. And of course, if you're American, you don't know what Sport Check is. Sport Check is the Canadian equivalent to like Reebok or Foot Locker, I guess you can call it, or Champ Sports. But the fact of the matter is that, because I work for Canadian Tire, a group that kind of owns Sports Check, I got I got a massive discount. So yeah, I'm wearing my RJ Barrett jersey. One. See the back. See the back. Ah, damn. One thing I hate about this angle is you can't see the back, but yeah. Yeah, it's RJ Barrett, baby. That's why I'm wearing it. And the Raptors and all that. Of course, I'm nationalistic, and with the Raptors not making the playoffs, I decided to do the Raptors what if first. It's the same rule from the other three major sports: baseball, basketball, football, hockey. Every one of the franchises I do, but the what ifs cannot be a finalist. You lose in the finals, you're ineligible. Even if like the Toronto Raptors had lost the 2019 finals to the Golden State Warriors, they would not have been given the what if. What if they played the Warriors and tried again to win the title? But that's not happening. So I want to tell you about a great Raptors team from when I was growing up in high school. The game that saw the ball bounce one, two, three, four times off the rim and did not go in. However, all that. So I'll talk about that. So let's talk about basketball. Why don't we? This is the first of the Cutter basketball what ifs, the 2001 Toronto Raptors. We're playing basketball sims. We're playing basketball sims. He's playing what if NBA. Cutter's doing what if NBA. Yeah. Oh, all the teams around the world got to know that the Raptors are number one. But what about the Bulls, Wizards, and Pistons? They all have great what ifs. What is stories about old teams like the Kansas City Kings and maybe even the Minneapolis Lakers. But we all know we're gonna do some basketball. He's doing basketball. He's doing basketball. What if Cutter's doing what if NBA? So what if NBA? So of course, in the second part, I give like the um history of the team I'm talking about. So let's talk about the Toronto Raptors, why don't we? The Toronto Raptors are a massive team and the first of two teams for the NBA to feature in Canada. There were exhibition games played in Canada, and Canadian interest in NBA was huge with CBS having the basketball championships, like the NBA playoffs, and like people just liking it and all that. I think CTV was the Canadian rights holders to the NBA, but yeah, a lot of people like watching the finals and all that. So, Canadian basketball was huge. And I mean, basketball was created by a Canadian by the name of James Naismith. Bet you didn't know that, Americanos. The fact of the matter is, yeah, basketball was created by Canadians into the Peach Basket, and then Monte took it to the University of Kansas. So the simple fact, guys, is that the Raptors were big. Basketball would be one of the biggest cities in Canada, in Toronto. They decided to go to the west coast of Canada, Vancouver, which I will be talking about in a later video. But the fact of the matter is that the Raptors were growing and like all that. Toronto got their basketball team. There were a lot of teams like the Towers or the Beavers or the Mounties, but no, the Raptors won because of the love of Jurassic Park, which was big back in 1993. So Toronto called themselves the Raptors, cashing in on the Jurassic Park stuff. with the purple and silver and all that. The Fish's Raptor logo and all that. And Isaiah Thomas, legendary bad boy from the Detroit Pistons, being part of the first Raptors executive team. What can go wrong? Well, Toronto was not allowed to pick first in the NBA draft. Neither was Vancouver because of expansion teams. The Raptors' first expansion pick would go 7th overall, as the Raptors would pick Damon Stoudemire from Arizona. Heck, the NBA draft in '95 was held in Toronto at the Skydome. And people were upset. Raptor fans were upset because Damon Stoudemire was not Ed O'Banion. Reason being was that Ed O'Banion was named the MVP, or what they call the MOP, of the NCAA tournament, when he helped UCLA beat my Arkansas Razorbacks in the final. Fuck. Nevertheless, the Toronto Raptors, got David Stoudemire, and he made Raptor fans eat crow by him being the rookie of the year, not Ed O'Banion, who basically was a washout an NBA player and a piece of shit, because it was him who did that NCAA lawsuit against the video games that killed NCAA basketball and football from doing games and all that. I mean, what's wrong with randomizing heights, weights, and hometowns and skin color of athletes and all that? You can create it from scratch and all that. It like the faces won't be the same, but hey, the players could be the same. But yeah, it killed the whole thing and ruined my yearly tradition of making all-time teams and all that, because technically those games did not happen. Nevertheless, I did manage to have when I still had the PlayStation 2, I did NCAA football 11 and did those franchise teams, and PS3 for NCAA 14, and didn't get in trouble. Nevertheless, you know, fuck it over O'Banion. Nevertheless, the Raptors were crappy. They only won 15 games in their inaugural season. Or was it 19? I can't remember. But anyway, the Raptors did win a memorable game in March of 1996 at home at the Skydome, where they were temporarily placed until they could get a new basketball stadium. And then, they hosted MJ and the Chicago Bulls, and it was a tight game. The Bulls were down by one. Steve Kerr goes for three, misses. MJ puts up the shot and makes it. One problem, though. It was after the buzzer, and the Raptors win 109-108 in one of the greatest Raptor games of all time. If it weren't for our championship year in 2019, it would be still the greatest game in Raptor history. 3 decades passing on. Nevertheless, so the Raptors were going through growing pains. Most expansion teams did so. But still, the fan base came out and enjoyed it. By 2000, the Raptors were kind of close to a postseason berth. They actually got in the 2000 playoffs, but the Knicks took us out in 3 straight games. Once the first round was a best of 5. Of course, 2001, it was a different horse from a different color, from a color, whatever colloquialism you want to use. So the Raptors, unfortunately, after 2001, kind of fell off the cliff. They lost to the Pistons in the first round of the 2002 draft. By 2003, they were so crappy they had the 4th overall pick. But it worked out for the Raptors. They got Chris Bosh from Georgia Tech. Cleveland took LeBron. Detroit took Darko Milicic, who was a flop. But I mean, he can't be the biggest flop in NBA history. He got a ring the next season. And Denver took Carmelo Anthony before Chris Bosh. So the Raptors hit the jackpot. Unfortunately, Vince Carter decided to be a piece of crap, and management was not helping out anything. So Vince Carter decided not to dunk, and he basically pissed off Toronto so much they traded him to New Jersey for Alonzo Mourning. Big problem was Alonzo Mourning was injured and did not report to the Raptors. So the Raptors could have had one of the best centers of all time, maybe be a mentor to Chris Bosh, but he didn't want to play. Asshole. Nevertheless, Vince Carter would gel with the Nets, and he would basically beat the tar out of us, especially in 2007 in the playoffs. So the Raptors kept bouncing around. And then in 2005, we decided to take first overall. No, sorry. 2005, we took Charlie Villanueva, and basically everyone shat on the pick, especially Stephen A. Smith, but Villanueva did pretty well. 2006 first overall pick, Rafael Araujo. Was that the first pick? Oh no, sorry, that was Andrea Bargnani. Thinking Araujo, Rojo. But yeah, Andrea Bargnani from Italy. Unfortunately, though, LaMarcus Aldridge proved to be that damn good, and the Raptors kind of shit the bed on those picks. So, nevertheless, the Raptors were in a lean period in the 2000s. They were coming out of the chasm after Chris Bosh decided to go to Miami to join the big three of LeBron and D Wade. The Raptors had great runs in the 2010s. Unfortunately, we kept getting beaten in the playoffs terribly. Game 7 lost to Brooklyn and the Nets franchise in 2014, the first round. Cleveland getting our goats. The Raptors for a long time couldn't even win a playoff series, but they did. We got to the conference finals in 2017, I like to say, but lost to Cleveland. And then, of course, in 2018, Cleveland beat us, even though we were the number one seed. So 2019 came, and Raptor fans were not happy, especially when we had to give up fan favorite DeMar DeRozan to San Antonio for Kawhi Leonard. People were pissed off. Despite that fact, Kawhi basically beat the tar out of everyone and made us all cringe. And he laughed at us. Ha, 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 ha. The Raptors basically got everything together. They won the first few rounds, then had to face Milwaukee, lost 2-0. The first two games in Milwaukee. Game 3, they pulled off a double overtime win. Ironically enough, I started a new job, my first real job in 4 years around the time Game 3 ended. So, without knowing it, the Raptors won the next 3 games and 4-2. What I forgot to mention was that the second round in 2019, the Raptors took on the Sixers. And that was when Kawhi decided to take it upon game time 99 with 9 seconds left. Bounce the ball, throw up a shot, a jumper, goes bonk, 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 in. Harlan yells, "Game, series, Toronto has won." So yeah, the Raptors won the series. It was just amazing what Kawhi shot could do. 18 years after Vince Carter's shot bounced off the rim 4 times and didn't go in, Kawhi's shot bounced off the rim and went in. The Raptors got to the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, and lo and behold, we shocked the world by winning in 6 games. Golden State was banged up. That was the only way we could beat them. And unfortunately, the Raptors have not been the same since. We've been rebuilding, but you know what? It doesn't matter. So anyway, let's talk about the 2001 Raptors and see what if the 2001 Raptors got to the Eastern Finals. All right, so the 2000-2001 Raptors season was our 6th in the NBA. And the Raptors had some big moments and all that. Our first pick in the 2000 draft was Mo Pete, who came off of a national championship with Michigan State. The Raptors took Corliss Williamson from Sacramento's hands, as he was an Arkansas Razorback, and signed Mark Jackson, a pretty good point guard, formerly of the Pacers and the Knicks. Lenny Wilkins then jumped in to become the 4th head coach in the Raptors' 6-year history. The Raptors were decent, above 500 at the All-Star break, and then they traded Corliss to Detroit for Jerome Williams, known as Junkyard Dog, and Eric Montrose, former North Carolina icon and player of the 93 National Championship team. Mark Jackson was traded back to the Knicks alongside Muggsy Bogues. Yeah, it's weird how we have Muggsy freaking Bogues. And then we traded him to the Knicks for Chris Childs, and then Kevin Willis was traded to Denver for Keon Clark and Tracy Murray, which actually worked out because Keon Clark was a good shot blocker and Tracy Murray was a good 3-point shooter. Raptors ended up with 47 wins and the second in the Central. Vince Carter looked good, 27 points per game, all NBA second team. Antonio Davis, former Pacer, 13 points, 10 rebounds per game. Both those guys were in the All-Star game in Washington. Alvin Williams looked pretty good for 3 points. Charles Oakley with the 9.5 rebounds per game. Del Curry, yes, that Del Curry. Stephen Curry's father played for the Raptors. In fact, Stephen Curry played on a few Toronto school teams. Haha. So, regardless of that, in their second playoff appearance, the Raptors were down 2-1 to the New York Knicks. They were the 5 seed, their highest seeding in ever, of course. They took on the 4 seed Knicks. They won Game 4 on home turf and then went to New York at MSG and beat them the Knicks 93-89 9, becoming the first Canadian team to make it to win a playoff round, and we made it to the conference semifinals. Up 2 games to 1 on the Sixers. It looked like the Raptors were going to win Game 4 on home turf and take it from there. Unfortunately, they lost Game 7, 88-87, when the ball bounced by 1 point. Of course, that Game 7 is also controversial because Vince Carter decided to attend his North Carolina graduation in lieu of playing against the Sixers. Well, he did play against the Sixers. He had to leave the graduation ceremony early to get on a private jet to Philadelphia to play the Sixers, and people thought that the whole graduation thing kind of ruined his momentum. The Sixers would fall to the Lakers in the NBA Finals, but they gave the Lakers of 01 the only playoff loss in their campaign. The Raptors were not one another playoff series until 2016. Dreadful. So yeah. So the 2001 Raptors had Vince Carter, Chris Childs, Keon Clark, Del Curry, Antonio Davis, Eric Montrose, Tracy Murray, Mehmet Nadai, Charles Oakley, Mo Pete, Michael Stewart, not the soccer star, Alvin Williams, and Jerome Williams. In the regular season, the Raptors won 47 games, 5 back of Milwaukee, and took 5th place. In the playoffs, in the first round, they took on the Knicks, lost Game 1, won Game 2, but lost Game 3 on home turf and were one loss away from being eliminated. Remember, this was best of 5 first round at the time. But beat the Knicks 193 thanks to Vince Carter's 32 points. And then at MSG, Vince Carter stole the show. In the conference semifinals, a split in Philly, won Game 3 on home turf. Should have taken care of Philly at home, but lost 84-79 as Allen Iverson, I think, had that 50-point game. Lost Game 5 in Philly, but won Game 6 thanks to Carter's 39. But lost Game 7 when Carter took the last shot, and it did not go in. But nevertheless, let's talk about what if the 2001 Raptors did get to the Eastern Finals against their division rivals, the Bucks. So the 2001 Toronto Raptors would have faced the 2001 Milwaukee Bucks. We don't touch any other playoff series unless it's the one team involved, and that is the Raptors. So Raptors play the Bucks. We know the Lakers will be awaiting in the finals. That's the thing. We don't touch that. So here we go. Game 1 in Milwaukee saw the Bucks win 119-107 as Ray Allen was hero with 28 points. The Raptors 34 points from Vince Carter in 41 minutes. 10 points from Antonio. Chris Childs only getting 3 points. Tracy Murray 12 points and Charles Oakley 10. Keon Clark 20 points off the bench in 33 minutes. Mo Pete, Alvin Williams, Del Curry, and Eric Montrose also played. The 2001 Bucks. Ray Allen, Sam Cassell, and Glenn Big Dog Robinson all with 20 plus points. Irvin Johnson and Jason Caffey did not so much. Tim Thomas 14 points off the bench. So that's game 1. Game 2 sees the Raptors lose 100-95. Ray Allen doing his job again. 27 from Carter. Every other starter was under 10 points. Keon Clark got 15 points. Del Curry got 10 off the bench. Allen, Robinson, and Cassell all with 20 points each. No big difference. So now they head to Raptor Town, game 3, and sees the Raptors win 103-88. Vince Carter puts up a spark for 37 points. 22 from Ray Allen. Robinson and Cassell all fell below 20. Scott Williams with only 10 points in 17 minutes. They basically put on their bench. Raptors BC 37 points, Davis 14 points. And all that. Keon Clark, Mo Pete, double digits off the bench. They basically put a lot of players in and all that. Of course, a lot of the 2001 guys were the guys who didn't play it. Anyway, game 4. Jeez, the Raptors win 108-87. Antonio Davis, 10 points, 9 assists. I don't know why he would be playing again. Ray Allen still with 20 points. Glenn Larson at 19. Jerome Kersey, Ray Ferrelson, a future Raptors. Well, 28 points by Carter. 10 from Davis, 19 from Tracy Murray, who did well. Keon Clark and Mo Pete off the bench with double digits and points. So it's 2-2 headed back to Milwaukee. And that's where Milwaukee wins. Big Dog with 30 points. Carter only had 15. Tracy with 19. Keon with 12. 30 points from Glenn Robinson. 25 from Ray Allen again with the 20 points per game. Cassell was 16. The bench a little bit awkward. Then in Toronto, hopefully things could work out. And they don't. the big dog scores 27 points, and the Milwaukee Bucks would have beaten the Toronto Raptors in Game 6 in Toronto, which would have been an insult. 23 points from Ray Allen, 27 from the big dog Glenn Robinson, 18 from Cassell, 33 from Vince Carter, 11 from Keon, but everything else, it was just all for crap. And the Toronto Raptors would have ended up losing to the Bucks, and the Lakers would have crushed the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs in 2001. So the Raptors would have been so close to the finals. It would have been a Cinderella run for the ages. Regardless, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.